Hi, my name is Gregory MacMartin, CEO of Interdimensional Games. We're a very forward-thinking video game development company formed in 2006. So we're trying to basically push the boundaries of interactive storytelling. First-person action games typically have been very simplistic games as of late. They don't have much in the way of meaningful storylines or narrative. We spent years now developing, trying to find a way to really push the boundaries of what can be done with first-person interactive narrative storytelling. So making the player feel like they're involved in part of a emerging narrative, almost like you're part of a cast of characters in a TV show. In essence, we're trying to, our grand plan actually is to create the world's first interactive television show by creating steady, episodic, digitally distributed content where you're part of an emerging epic TV show in the likes of Lost or Battlestar Galactica, or those types of shows that have huge single narrative arcs, but have individual episodes that tell pieces of that arc. So that's at a nutshell. That's what our company's about and what we're trying to do. Actually, it comes from an idea I had in 1996, a long time ago. I was still living with my parents at the time. I had made a couple games with some buddies out of high school, old games called Radix Beyond the Void and Aftershock for Quake, some of the early games in the 90s. And I've kind of been then I started to spark the idea of what was possible with first-person games. And I always imagined the future, trying to really put people into a space where there's virtual actors around you and they all feel like real people, and you can, rather than just having movies and everything, so much of storytelling is passive, and you really knew that the future was having it be truly interactive, and I saw the potential of games. So it's all kind of come from there, and ever since '96 I've had the core story concept of our game in mind, and it's been building it and growing it, and while I simultaneously went and learned more about how to make video games by working on games like Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets and Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction and a bunch of other big high-profile commercial AAA games. So I learned a lot about how to make video games, and then once I kind of felt like I'd learned as much as I really could from doing that type of work, I really okay, time to go back to do it myself again. So I formed Interdimensional Games with the goal of bringing everything I learned from working on those big games back to actually realizing my original dream of trying to really push what can be done with first-person interactive narrative storytelling. We formed it in 2006. It was basically we started developing our brand new intellectual property at that point, and then we steadily built it up over a couple of years. And we sort of I kept a very low profile, and we just sort of started developing, building up early prototypes and writing huge design documents and story treatments and story bibles, and just sort of building up the foundation of our intellectual property. And then in early, I guess 2009, no, 2010. When did actually the very first round of the Kennedy Media Fund? When I first heard of that was going to be coming out of the old Telefilm fund for developing games. I was like, wow! I remember reading what the CMF was all about, and it was exactly like our business plan. It really did. The experimental stream, yeah, the Kennedy Media Fund experimental stream, that pretty much it defined exactly what we're trying to do. So we basically put together this huge package of stuff. It was a stack like this, a 45-minute PowerPoint presentation of me talking over tons of videos, and it's just a huge amount of stuff that we tried to convey to all the judges and business analysts and whatnot responsible for picking CMF projects. And we sort of threw caution to the wind and said, this is our project, we've been working on it for years, well, what do you guys think? And it came back and it was accepted, and that was a pretty defining moment in our company, because to be recognized by country and other media professionals, it was really an awesome moment for us. So that kind of broke the floodgates open, and we obviously brought a whole bunch of key people on board, people that I had been wanting to have work with us for a long time, and dove into full production last year. So now here we are, very close to an alpha build of our game. Most features, fully complete. The art direction of our game very, very well, finally defined, and yeah, it's really exciting. We're well on our way to shipping our game on December 21st. Actually, it was kind of spooky. Actually, just to quickly go in a bit, we have an alternate reality game. That's something we started 2 years ago. It's a rather epic, immersive online experience that allows players to dive into our universe and our storyline. And the number 21 is replete throughout the entire ARG. It's everywhere. You just dive in, you'll see 21 all over the place. There's various reasons for that. I won't get into those reasons, but what's kind of spooky is the flow of our project and our production and what we're doing as a team, what we're making, is kind of heading towards us shipping at the end of this year, December 21st. And we realized that we can actually pick the date, December 21st, 2012. And if you look at that date, it's actually 21-12-21. Right? Sorry, 21-12-12, right? If you just take two numbers and switch them, it's 21-21-21. So you can imagine our launch teaser, if you will, is going to have 21-21-21, and then two numbers switch, and that's like the release date, right? So it's awesome marketing.
The story.
Yeah, from the beginning. It's not like it's like we planned it, right? So it's really spooky. As that's why we're full on engines. We're going to ship the game on that date, no matter what. You have to, right? Because it's just too perfect from a marketing point of view. So yeah, no, it's been quite a ride. But it's our dream. It's our passion. There's nothing stopping us from getting this made. Jason Zayas is our art director. Actually, we kind of partner with his outsourcing studio, Turnstile Studios. He's an old friend of mine. We worked together on Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets. He was the lead animator on that project, and he's just a brilliant, multi-talented artist. And he worked on the old King's Quest games at Sierra. He actually joined the industry back in the 90s, so a lot of experience in that area. My friend David Galloway is our chief technical officer. He's actually worked on games in the Call of Duty franchise and the Assassin's Creed franchise, and he's very prolific, awesome, multi-talented programmer. He's sort of leading up our technical efforts. Jeremy Soule, the composer of Skyrim, among a whole slew of about 55 other video games in our industry, is our composer. He's actually a close personal friend of mine, and he's composing our game. If you find our teaser online right now, that's obviously his music. Everything in the game right now, even our AOG, is all scored by him. So, I'm very proud to have him on our team. Him and I really speak the same creative language, right? So, I've got this very epic story to tell, and he knows how to tell that with music. So, it's going to be pretty awesome when you see your game's going to be scored like a movie. So, we're going to basically have the whole game done, and we're going to put it in front of him. He's going to score it like you would a movie, including all the threads, right? So he'll score the different threads, all the different options the player can take. You'll hear a very unique score, but he'll be, it's awesome. He's really good. He's really brilliant. It's going to be fantastic. Also, our CFO is Stuart Marshall, who actually teaches at CFO as a business mentor. He's actually a 20-year worldwide recognized accountant, and it's been really great having him on board to help grease the wheels in that area. It's been fantastic, actually. That's kind of our executive team. I have a bunch of other people, a bunch of new people that are very, brand new, up-and-coming talent, people that know our engine really well that we've brought onto our team that are fantastic. The philosophy of our company, the people that work for Interdimensional Games, is that you basically need to put all your effort towards the project. We're kind of a forward-thinking 21st century game company in a bunch of different ways. One, we work virtually. We don't believe in there having to be a central physical office. Everybody has to come to work every day and sit in front of their computers and get stuff done and then leave. No, it's much more open than that. We basically have a morning scrum every morning via Skype, but we actually use Skype. And every single morning we have a scrum, the entire team. Everybody talks about what they did and what they're doing, and I record that, and it works fantastic. We're realizing that really is the future, right? That in the future we may have an office, we may have these kinds of things, but the virtual roots are never going to go away. I think anybody you could have a powerful laptop sitting on a beach in Hawaii and enjoying the sun and deliver your stuff and just sit there working away because you're inspired because of the beauty of the sun and stuff, right? So it's working really, really well. It's amazing how efficient our company is and how much money we're saving in terms of production values, and our corporate overhead is so low compared to most other companies because of this system. It's working really well. Our team's very driven, very passionate. We all believe in just sort of trying to carve out a type of game that you don't see very often. The ARG stuff even aside, if you just look at our game itself, it's very bright and positive, and it's kind of almost it's really something you want to put your kids to play. I think if people look at kids playing games like Call of Duty, just nonstop murder, carnage, it's really quite depressing, right? We really believe that it's very depressing. And I think that our game presents the style of gameplay that is similar in terms of its first-person action, but the similarities kind of end there because there's so much more meaning behind what you're doing. You think that when you shoot combatants, they're not going to die immediately. They'll fall unconscious first, right? And then you can actually go up and you can heal them to prevent them from dying. So there's you want to preserve life, right? You're not about trying to murder. You're just about trying to preserve the ideals of the consortium and be a good consortium bishop. And I think that we want. I think kids playing our game will hopefully get some sense of social responsibility and maybe think more about there's consequences to killing, and you want to also avoid getting shot as well, because we have this whole first-person medical system, right? So when you get shot, you can get actual medical conditions, and you'll hear the doctor come in and say there's a bullet that just punctured your spleen and you're bleeding internally, and to make you feel a little bit bad about possibility of getting shots bad, right? You don't want to do that. So it's just, again, they're just trying to provide a little bit of light, shine some light into a very, very, in my opinion, very dark industry. Our industry loves to push the negative button in our psyches, right? Really, these games really, they sort of reward you for doing a lot of very, very dirty, very negative actions, right? And I think it's entirely possible to have a game that rewards you for doing positive actions and rewards you for kind of being a good guy for real, right? And presents contextual situations that somewhat represent the real world in some way, as opposed to just, oh, it's a video game and there's bad guys now, kill them. Right? Which most games pretty much just end up to that point, right? The story is a cutscene where people see looking all at each other really grim and saying a bunch of cool lines, and then suddenly, oh, enemies are here, shoot them, right? There's usually very little connective tissue, whereas we're trying to like totally eschew that and say, okay, no, this is, what about like a real contextual situation where everything kind of has meaning and purpose, and very, very few games I think really do that holistically. Some do, right? Like if you take the Half-Life games, the Mass Effect games, and the Deus Ex games, those three titles are one of the top tier of ones that we kind of think are really going in the right direction, right? And if you combine unique elements of those three games, you get Consortium, right? That's sort of one of our team members kind of mentioned that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. You're right. That's that's kind of what our game's like. It has elements of all those. So yeah. Well, ship our game in December 21st. We've got a lot of momentum. We've got this game that's really far along. We're at the point now where we just need to hit alpha. There's some content we need to build, but a lot of our features are already beyond alpha. So it's like parts of our game are there. Some parts aren't. So just hitting those milestones, getting onto Steam. One of our biggest business endeavors right now is securing our place on Steam. There's many factors that open up once we do that, and we're close. We're close. Because we're using their engine, there's sort of a it's going to help us. It is helping us. So that's really our big milestone first, and then really just doing the home run stretch to getting our game finished and built and released by December 21st. And then hopefully that will establish our series, and then we move on to make the next episode, and then the next episode, and then we continue from there. There are a lot of cell phone developers, mobile developers. There's social game developers. There's a few still AAA game houses. To be perfectly honest, the industry has suffered a lot of the AAA video game industry has suffered quite a bit in Vancouver. It's not 100%. It's not all bed and roses, unfortunately, in that area. There has been some studio closures and that whatnot. But at the same time, there's still a lot of them have gone into social and mobile. There's actually a ton of mobile gaming. There's a ton of sort of smaller game studios forming, and the indie scene is getting quite large actually. So yeah, it's pretty diverse. Actually, I Relic Entertainment is there, and Radical Entertainment's there. I've actually worked at those studios in the past, and we're already seeing games sort of popping up on all our devices because we're becoming more connected as a species via the internet, right? We're just always interconnected. All of us are always checking email and getting texts, and it's nonstop flood, right? So games are already getting into that space with the social gaming scene and Facebook games and this sort of thing, where they're specifically trying to tie together all your contacts and blend them into a game, right? So you're going to see obviously that going off into crazy directions. The whole massive multiplayer online role-playing game genre, so games like World of Warcraft and the Star Wars MMO and things of this nature, those will continue to evolve and grow, and the online world scene will become more profound in terms of what you can do in those online worlds. They'll become more like a different universe. It's just going to get pretty profound. I think that you're going to see a massive stratification. You're already seeing massive stratification of the industry, where there's just whole different types of games that have nothing to do with other types of games, because there's just so much that can be done now. In our type of game, I see the interactive storytelling continuing to evolve for years to come. There's so much more that can be done, and that's what drives our passion, to try to realize that as much as we can and head that direction. How telling stories can be made. When you have a story and you go and you write it as an author, and you write the story and you want people to read it and experience it in their brain as they're reading your story. The same thing can be done with a video game, except it's happening all around you in 3D, right? That's kind of what I think we're going to see more of. We'll see more of that. Crafting stories that can only exist interactively, if you follow me. Like there's some stories that can only exist passively, and they're going to start to see new kinds of stories emerging with the interactive medium, and because it's a very tough problem, and that's why we're enjoying trying to crack it, because there's so much that can be done with it, right? So I think what other types of games I'm missing? Obviously, the big blockbuster AAA like Hollywood action game stuff. Those will continue for years to come, unfortunately. As much as I think they have very little social value, in my opinion, they also just really push the lizard brain extremely. They're roller coaster rides for the brain, right? They literally, like, when you sit in front of a Call of Duty game, the rush you get is almost as if you went got on a roller coaster and got spun around multiple times, going upside down. It's the same thing. Your brain's still. So as graphics technology increases and the big companies that have the money keep upping the budgets to realize those graphic technology, you're just going to get more and more intense, crazy, photorealistic, ridiculousness, really, going on in front of the screen to just really just stimulate people and wow them. And this is the same reason why people get drawn to the big sort of the big Hollywood blockbusters and movies, right? They don't have a lot of social value, but they generate money at the box office, right? Because people just want to get some people are just, you need to get that rise, right? So I think but I think stratification and connecting, I think, is really what's going to happen more and more and more. You'll see games bleeding into every aspect of our lives. Everybody will be playing 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different games simultaneously. You'll have people will be leveling up on their cell phone for various different types of games, and you'll be getting all kinds of friends of people you'll never actually meet in real life, but they're all friends from all the various different virtual games and worlds you're involved in. And just connecting, more and more connection. At the same time, I'm hoping that there'll still be a good market for like when you curl up with a book by yourself in a comfy chair with the light, and you sit down with a book and you just dive into a story on your own. I really hope, of course, that we're going to work really hard to ensure that type of entertainment is still kept alive. Our particular game, our interdimensional game, is about that. It's about sort of turning all the lights off, cranking the sound, put the 5.1 surround sound, and dive into our game and just experience this thing on your own, right? You stimulate your own imagination. So it's it's a matter of a lot of people, the industry's heading towards the connection thing, but I like to think that there's still going to be a room for this sort of immerse yourself into and use your own imagination and experience something on your own, and hopefully come out of it inspired, hopefully, right? And learn something and grow a little bit as a person. That's literally, we want to change. We really, people, maybe it's a cliche, but really do want to change the world with our company. Ultimately, we want to try to bring a lot more light into our industry, and hopefully, if our franchise really does become quite very, very successful, use it, have it to cross off into other media, and try to have it be something that's kind of it's something you want to have your kids put your kids in front of this stuff, right? Because they will learn stuff about the real world. Our episodic series is designed to actually reflect the real world. We're going to be bringing in real world political issues and geopolitical issues and resource issues and all the stuff the consortium's about. We're going to be bringing into the game, and so you'll be able to reflect the real world, all the problems we really are facing as a species in this planet. You'll be able to play our game and think about those issues. And in our game we'll have all these solutions that have been made that got us past those issues. So you can think about, is that really possible? Could we do that? Is it possible that we could get our heads around the problem of overpopulation? Is it possible we could get our heads around our energy crisis, right? Could we solve crack fusion energy and all those sorts of things, right? That we're saying we did. It's that's really our goal in the end of the day. We as a company invented a satellite. We put it up into orbit 2009. There's a bit of a long story associated with it, and it's a bit of an unusual satellite, and I'll tell you a little bit about what its function is. Essentially, I invented a filter that I put over my telescope. I'm actually an amateur astronomer by on the side, and I put this filter on my telescope, and I actually discovered back in the early 2000s that there are, believe it or not, 21 tiny packets of negative energy orbiting our planet right now. They're almost impossible to discover, and I actually brought my findings to scientists at JPL and NASA, and had a long series of meetings and discussions, and we learned a lot about the nature of those packets. And I worked very closely with them, and we invented a device that's capable of being able to exploit these packets of negative energy that is capable of opening up a rift, we call it, in space-time. But more than that, it actually opens up a rift into an alternate universe, an alternate dimension.
It's crazy.
It does sound crazy, and I think there are many people out there that don't really believe that this is necessarily real. We perfectly understand that. We started off our company wanting to make a great video game. I invented this specifically to try to learn about alternate dimension that we could reference and get inspiration from to make a great video game. But as we've been continuing to advance the software powering our satellite, we're realizing that it itself is far more powerful than we even imagined. And we recently had some big breakthroughs. If you look at our teaser on GameTrailers.com and our YouTube page, you'll see a small bit of footage we actually captured from the alternate universe in full three-dimensional stream, which tells us we know now for sure that with we have a lot more software work to development to accomplish for this, but our the quantum sensors aboard our satellite will be capable of being able to stream this alternate universe directly to your computer, and so that's what we're working on.
What's there?
Well, you know what? We know for sure what's there. One thing we do know what is there is that we've connected to late 2028, late 2020s of this alternate universe. And what we've done, we've gone inside an artificial intelligence known as Henry, or K1, being developed by a company called Worldview Industries. Its exact purpose we still don't know. We do know that it's an immensely powerful artificial intelligence. It's built in a facility in Mexico. It's this massive facility. And actually, 21 human brains have been connected together, networked together, so that this huge artificial intelligence can learn and grow and become almost human. It's really been quite an interesting experience in terms of learning about this AI, how it works. So far, our experience has been within this AI. It seems like when we're in the other dimension, we're literally inside the databanks of this artificial intelligence. We also do know that there's this. The one key difference between that universe and ours is that universe has a organization called the Guardian Church, and this is very. They believe in that universe that there's a group of beings called the Guardians that are almost like gods that have come down throughout human history to help us in certain times of need. And we believe that there's some kind of tension between the Guardian Church and Worldview Industries. They believe that the Guardian Church believes that this AI is in fact an evil device with purposes to take over the world and that sort of thing. And vice versa, Worldview Industries thinks that the Guardian Church are they're just a bunch of brainwashed fools. So we've met indirectly many people from the other universe, and they've actually connected to us. Our satellite is able to pick up small amounts of text data that have come from the other side, where people have essentially appeared onto our forums. So if you were to go into our forums, what you're going to discover there is a lot of people posting from the other universe, essentially. And anybody right now in the public is capable of go in there and interface and talk to these people. And we've learned a lot about the other universe through this connection we've had with them. It is potentially dangerous. As a matter of fact, we actually caught the attention of the Canadian government fairly recently. I myself had to travel to Ottawa a couple times to have meetings with some high officials or people where various government officials were quite concerned. As a matter of fact, a poor individual's website, John Wilkinson's website, was actually taken over, unfortunately, by something from the other side. If you go to johnwilkinson.com, you'll see that the results are still there. So there is some invasiveness going on there, and there is potentially some danger. And matter of fact, we do warn people that when you use our system, we have a bit of a disclaimer that says, we can't be responsible for anything that may or may not occur for you on the other side. But at the same time, we've put as many safety protocols as we can. We've done a lot of work to ensure that nothing seriously harmful can happen to your computer or you. So right now, you can learn about the other dimension. You can dive into the wealth of data we've collected, and there's a lot of it. But we're actively and steadily working towards putting you into this other universe, essentially. The quantum streaming systems are advancing at a huge rate, and we've extracted some new footage we actually have not released yet, 3D footage from the other universe. We're not precisely sure where we are in this new connection. We think we're actually outside of the AI for the first time. We may even be inside a human brain. We're not sure who this is, so we're learning a lot more about where we're going to be able to put people. But we're quite confident that by the end of this year, you'll be able to exist. You'll be able to jump into this other universe and essentially forge your own universe, if you will. There's an infinite number of universes. We know that now, and through our satellite, you're able to create a new instantiation of a new universe. So ideally, we can work out all the problems we're currently working on as far as to bandwidth and the sheer scope of what we need to do to control the much data that's coming from the other side, and then to splice it to the thousands or potentially millions of people that may want to experience the universe is really our biggest task. But people can look forward to experiencing an alternate universe through someone else's eyes.